Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to this week's live trade session and review of the week. I've changed position in my house and I can see that I look very dark, so I'll take that off because that's quite disconcerting for me. But I'll sort that out for next week, and I apologise for that. So markets are due to open in about 8.5 minutes or so. We have a shortened day because of Thanksgiving yesterday. So the markets have been have traded reasonably well this morning, or reasonably volatile. Nothing really outlandish, but we've seen some decent moves. But they have been contained within quite tight trading ranges. I think the thing that for me that's quite noticeable this week in relation to my own trading is that the mornings have all been very, very successful, apart from today. And today is probably a break even for the morning, maybe slightly better. But the mornings have been very positive: Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. And then they've been followed up with some poor trading on Monday and Tuesday, which we'll look at in a little bit, where I've overextended, been a little bit greedy, stayed in the markets too long. And then on Wednesday and Thursday, they've been better. Obviously, yesterday was Thanksgiving, so there wasn't a great deal of volume. Wasn't a great deal of volatility. The trades were predominantly DAX, so it's easy to finish those markets a little bit earlier. Little bit of activity in Bitcoin, which fell all the way down to about 92,000 after almost scaling that 100,000 mark, and now trades around the 97 figure, I think, although I don't have it on my screen. So there was a bit of a sell-off in the last hour and a half in the indices, pulling back from some fairly strong moves first thing this morning. So no surprise for me, the Dow is back to roughly where it was on Wednesday when we closed. And we're now going to see where this genuine next movement takes us from this point. So the questions going through my head, certainly, and keeping an eye on Bitcoin in relation to this as well, is the Trump trade over? Have we seen as good as this is going to get? And we're going to have to see. I mean, obviously we did scale 45,000 on one day during this week. I think it was probably Wednesday before we sold off a bit from those levels. As we're heading into this opening bell, gold is selling off a little bit. I'm just going to have a quick look because it's not on my screens. I'll have a quick look at Bitcoin and see where that is moving. So Bitcoin's still hovering around that 97,000 mark. I might be interested in selling that level if it stays there and fails to build on those levels. The DAX, as I'm looking at it, is pushing back towards that 19,500 level, and the Dow is holding around 44,906, 907. So what I'm expecting from the Dow when we get closer to the open is possibly a bit of buying. That may not necessarily come through immediately on the bell. It may be that we're looking at 5 or 10 minutes later that we see some buying and a buy order coming into the market. I expect the market to push up towards 45,000. I think we can just look now. It might as well. It'll be easier. So if we just look at where we got to the other day, I'll take this out to a 15-minute chart so you can, might need something a bit wider than that. So, it was the 27th of November, so it was a couple of days, so it was Wednesday. So you can see here, this is when we pushed above the that 45,000 level, probably went up to about 45,080, 45,085. This is a half an hour trade, so sorry, this is a half an hour or a 30-minute chart. So we spent about an hour. Probably wasn't the hour, but we spent some time within that hour of trading above the 45,000 level, and then we've sold off ahead of Thanksgiving and have kind of meandered, as you can see here. You know, if you look across that line to where we're currently trading, we've meandered around this 44,900 level. If you remember, yesterday I was selling just above 44,900, got caught on the last trade, but if we dipped below it to any degree, I was a buyer. If we traded above it to any substantial point, I was a seller during the course of yesterday. But because it was Thanksgiving, there weren't too many trades. But the key will be somewhere between, I mean, if we look at the body of this candlestick, that takes us all the way down to 45,020. I did sell around that level a couple of times on Wednesday. Wasn't without danger, as you can see with that move higher, but not something that was necessarily going to stop me out. Unless you see some fierce momentum or strong momentum building because of something that's happening in the market this afternoon, I can't think what that's going to be. But if there is a big buy program, it is month end today, so the month end is going to happen earlier than you would normally expect. But I don't expect it to be a month end that has a significant move. So we're running into December. We've got the potential to see a bit of a movement with a Santa rally towards the end of the year. Lots of analysts looking at where the S&P will be over the next period, and lots of forecasts that suggest a much higher level. In terms of the S&P 500, just to keep an eye on, it is trading above that 6,000 mark. Again, whether or not it can hold that level is open to question. So we're pushing closer to the open, probably 30-40 seconds to go to the opening bell. The Dow's pushed down to 44,875. This is, as I've said, it's a half-hour chart. You know, am I a buyer at any of these levels? You know, potentially you've had a bit of support here previously. We're trading at that level now. I might be more interested if we get down to something below 44,800, but we're probably 100 points away from that. Might look to do something here. So for the time being, with seconds to go to the bell, I'm just going to let this run into the bell. Not going to be too active, I don't think. We're still selling off. We're not quite open. So there's a bit of spoofing going around at the moment. We aren't now open. So we've seen a bit of a buy-in coming in, which doesn't have a great deal of momentum. It's probably lifted the market 30-40 pips for the time being. So I don't really want to trade this market from the buy side. So if we see a push, a nice push above that 44,900 level, there's every chance I'll get short again. But we're just coming up a little bit short of that level at the moment. You do often see that second spurt after we've seen the Dow open, sometime after the first 3 to 5 minutes or so. So we've pushed higher. That initial spate of buying has finished. I was just about to say that if we saw 44,950, I'd probably be a seller at those levels, but we're currently trading towards the high of the day, so just gone above 920. So it's really just what programs kick in from here. So we're trading 930. Might just put a limit in. Well, we're trading up quite nicely at the moment. And off it goes. Unfortunately, it's traded that little bit lower. So I'm just going to put a limit in there around 44,950, 952. It's just come through on my phone. So it should come through on your phones fairly soon. Again, you know, the trading is quite orderly. No no specific trend coming in. There is a bit of buy-in. We were only about 12 pips off of my limit at one stage, but lacking in momentum at this particular point. Let's have a quick look round the other markets. So we're close there. We're about 3. Should be triggered or very close to being. Yeah, we are. We should be triggered. That should come through on your phones now. Haven't seen it myself, which is a worry. Let me just have a quick look. So definitely triggered there at 961. So we'll keep an eye on that as we go forward, and see if we can close that out during this session, or it'll be a trade that I'm looking to monitor this afternoon. So just in terms of the trades for the week and how we're faring. So I have 2 trades open, Bitcoin, DAX, and now I have a Dow trade as well. So I'll just put that in quickly. Up about 634 points on the closed trades. Have those 3 trades now to close out. In terms of the week, Monday, I don't want to talk about too much. It was we ended up down 15 pips on the day, up a fairly big number in the morning session leading into the opening bell, and then just a number of stops that went against, sorry, not stops, but a number of trades that went against me in the afternoon, which completely wiped out the profit. Not quite the same story on Tuesday, but probably a little bit more of over trading. Just keep an eye on this market as we're going through. So we've come off about 10 pips since we sold, jumping around there between those levels. So reduced the number of trades on Tuesday, which was the target. Probably still too many trades. Was up about 400 pips in the early trades, then got caught with a couple of Dow trades. Well, it was all Dow trades that I got caught with. I was a seller, and the market continued to rally up towards that 45,000 level. I did expect it to sell off, it just didn't. So Tuesday was probably a more damaging day than Monday in terms of P&L, but the trading was a bit more orderly. Wednesday we only had the one losing trade. Thursday a couple of trades, just late trades. It was Thanksgiving. Each of the trades lost 20 pips, but still a decent profit, 200 pips on a day that you wouldn't expect to see too much of too many profits coming through, but we managed to return a decent return there. And then today, bar the closing of those 3 trades, has been a good day, or a reasonable day to date. We'll probably see, if we were to close the trades now, they would probably take about 100 pips off that, so it'd be about 534 pips. So following on from a good week last week, it would be certainly a good showing this week as well. So I'm just going to close that down. I'll finish off with a look back at these markets just before I depart for today and get back on Telegram. Sorry, I'm just... So the Dow hasn't done a great deal, so let me just take this down to a 1-minute chart just so that we can see the movements a little bit more. So we did go up to 44,972, coming off a little bit now in this Dow trade that we put on during this session. So it's up about 12, 13 pips at the moment. But in order just to complete this session and possibly close the trade, I might just take what is available. Just keep an eye on it for a minute. I'm just going to take what's available there. So you'll see that trade closed on your screens, probably something approaching 20 pips. It's gone down a little bit more now, so for those of you who were listening to me and didn't press their button quite as quick as me, you've probably made a little bit more out of that trade. We've got a couple of minutes to go, so usual thing, if you do have questions, send those through to me or Sam at bullandbearcap.com, and I will answer them over the course of the weekend. I am short the DAX. The DAX has jumped up again to 19,524, so we'll just have a quick look at the DAX. The DAX is trading fairly close to its high of the day. The big question here, again, similar to the Dow, are we going to see a move higher from these levels? Or is this the move for the week. The DAX isn't going to have an early close, but the close is going to be not much earlier than the Dow is closing today. So please keep an eye on that. The fact that the markets are, or certainly the Dow is going to close earlier than you would normally expect. I am going to sell the DAX around these levels, just look to average that position a little bit. So you'll see a trade going through to sell at 19,524. Gold is 26.58 and change. I've been selling it this morning above 26.62. It's got a reasonably tight range and has been trading in that all day, and the currencies are a little bit lower. You can see, discrepancy there between how the DAX is trading and how the Dow's trading. I sold the DAX. The DAX is fairly static. At a similar time, the Dow was trading 44,940. It's 30 points lower, so might just reappraise the way that I'm going to look at things this afternoon. But still a seller of the Dow, ideally on a bounce. If we don't see the bounce, then I might get a bit more aggressive. Going to leave you here. Finish this session. Please send on any questions that you have, and we will answer them this afternoon.